welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Katie Wismer. I'm an author and an editor. All of my stuff is linked down below. We're gonna do a vlog today. So today's Monday, September 25th. I just got my proofread back for Ruthless Ends, which is the final book of the Marionettes series. It's coming out next month. A full week early. I wasn't supposed to get it till next week, but my proofreader plowed through, which was crazy because the word count ended up being a lot higher than what I estimated for her. The book ended up being about 115K. I think we estimated at like 90. So I'm gonna take it as a compliment that like she enjoyed the book so much she just like flew through it. So this morning I've been going through that. I accepted all of the easy changes and now I'm going through her comments of things that take a little more time that I need to like look at and think about. There were about 50 comments, so we're slowly getting through that. I'm also currently working on an editing client for a poetry collection. I actually think she just did her cover reveal for it. I think I just saw that. If I am correct, I will link her video down below if you want to go see it. One other little announcement here at the beginning: if you backed the Marionettes Kickstarter and you have not yet filled out your survey, the emails were sent by Backer Kit. You have to fill out the survey to be able to get whatever rewards you backed for. Even if you were just in a digital only tier, you still have to fill out the survey. I have several people who still haven't filled them out yet, and I can't like close the campaign until everybody does. So if you haven't done it yet, please take the time to do so. It shouldn't take you more than like 2 minutes. But especially if you ordered physical goods, you have to give me your address. I can't ship them to you. I don't know where you live. As of right now, we still have like 30 people I'm waiting on to answer those. So yeah, my main plan right now is I need to finish my editing client. I want to go through and like accept all of the changes for Ruthless Ends, but then I also want to start back at the beginning and just read the book beginning to end and just see if I catch anything, and also just kind of read for flow and whatnot. Then we will get into formatting the book and sending out the early ebook copies to people as soon as like by the end of this week. It might start going out, which is like a full month early, which is earlier than I thought they would go out, but it's basically like the original release date for the book, so that's exciting. Part of the reason why I need those surveys filled out, because people got the early book with the Kickstarter. And then once the early ebook is out, I'll order the physical books so I can start waiting for them to get to me. But I also need to start working on the hardcover bonus content because I obviously can't order the hardcovers until I'm done with that. I also don't have the character art yet, which is going to go in the back of the hardcovers. So either way, hardcovers are not ready for me to order. I still need to get all of the bonus content ready for those, but at the very least soon I can order the paperbacks, which is good because the paperbacks are what's going to be going out in the PR boxes. So once I have those, I can also start sending out all the PR boxes, which I'm excited to do. Everything's finally happening. I feel like I've been like waiting for such a long period of time and I couldn't do anything until the book was done, and now I can finally start doing like all of these other tasks that I've had in mind. If you missed the previous vlog, I did like a little Q&A section the way we used to in the Vlogmas videos. Then I asked you to comment questions on that video so I can answer some more today. You guys commented so many great questions. I also got even more questions in through Instagram. So instead of having like one massive Q&A section, I think I'll just kind of like sprinkle it throughout and answer some questions here and there, so it's not just like one large chunk of talking. So with that said, I don't know if I'll get through all of the questions today because there were so many, but if you have something new that you want me to answer in the next vlog, you can comment it on this video as well. So someone asked, can we have more bodyguard romance, please? Thank you. Broken Perfect Lies, which is my bodyguard romance, is one of my favorite books that I've read, so anytime anyone shows that book some love, I appreciate it. I don't know if I would write another bodyguard romance, probably not again so soon. And I almost feel like if I were to write another one, it wouldn't be contemporary, it would be some kind of fantasy or paranormal spin on it. Because doing the same thing with contemporary, it would feel too repetitive to me, I think. But like a paranormal or supernatural of some kind bodyguard romance could be fun. Speaking of Broken Perfect Lies, will there be an audiobook for Broken Perfect Lies? No. As of right now, there's no plan to. That's what I said around release, and that still hasn't changed. Just logistics wise, it would be a very expensive audiobook. The book isn't making that much money. I would not see a return on that anytime soon. So it just doesn't make sense to make the audiobook right now. For one thing, it's a long book and it's told in 2 points of view, so I would have to have 2 narrators, which means I can't do what I usually do, which is royalty share, which saves me a lot of money on making the audiobooks. So making that audiobook would probably be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 right now. And the book is like selling some, but it's my lowest seller right now, just to be perfectly frank. And the royalty I would get on each audiobook, maybe like $2 per audiobook sold. So the amount of audiobooks I would need to sell to earn back that like $5,000, I would not see that money back probably within the next 5 years, maybe even 10 years at this rate. So it doesn't make sense to make it, unfortunately. I love audiobooks. I love the audiobooks that I have for my books, but this book in particular, with its current sales numbers and the fact that it would need 2 narrators, is what's put me off, especially because the only other book of mine that has 2 narrators is Bloodless Ties, and that one is still mostly Valerie's point of view, and the male narrator only had to read like 10,000 words worth, so I had to pay him a lot of money for that little chunk. But Broken Perfect Lies is 2 narrators throughout the entire thing, so it would be even more expensive. It would be a lot. So that's why. I toyed with the idea of doing some kind of like crowdfunding the way we did with the Marionettes audiobooks, where people could like pre-order, but even if I sold all of the codes to pre-orders, it still would not pay it all off, and I don't think I would be able to find enough interest to do that. Maybe someday, but right now it just doesn't really make any sense. And then the last question we'll answer for right now, and then I'll get back to work, is what is the hardest part of being an author? For me, it's all mental. It's all like mental struggles. It's dealing with negative reviews. It's dealing with the frustrations of people pirating and stealing your books and then not caring, even if you tell them how that hurts you in your career, and they feel entitled to whatever free thing they can find on the internet and they don't care. The lack of empathy and understanding that comes your way, it can be very dehumanizing, to be honest. So just like dealing with the mental sides of that and having your living be dependent on the goodwill and integrity of other people, and it can feel very powerless and helpless at times. So all you can do is do your best and focus on what you can control, but there's a lot of things that you can't control, and I just find that very frustrating and sometimes overwhelming, and you just kind of feel this like doom and gloom. So that's why I try not to focus on it too much. There's also just like a lot of more recent industry changes that make it even more stressful, like Amazon paying less and less for a KU author, which I am. I get paid like maybe $1.50 if someone reads my shorter books in KU now, because the rate that Amazon pays has gone down so much. And then the cost of goods to produce books, like paper and shipping and all that stuff, has lowered royalty rates for print books unless you raise your price. And then if you raise your price, readers complain that your books are too expensive when you're just trying to make a few dollars off of that book, because that's what it costs to produce it these days. So making a living, maintaining your sanity, and also being in a good enough headspace to create, it's an interesting balance to try to keep at all times. The actual writing, the actual business stuff is not that hard in comparison, to be honest. Okay, I have 33 more comments to get through for Ruthless Ends, so I would like to knock this out today and just be done with it. And we have a little helper over here. Forgot to tell you, I was writing last night a rough draft. It's been so long since I've been like that early in a project. I pulled out Gracie's book and I wrote like 2,000 words last night, which is a lot for me lately, and it was really fun. I think that draft is at like 15K right now, so it's still at the very beginning, and I'm also not at all writing it in order. It was just like I knew this scene was gonna happen at some point, so I did a couple of spaces in the draft and just like started randomly writing. This document is gonna be a freaking mess, but I'm having fun. Also, I have found nothing to be more humbling than going through my proofread notes and seeing, because it's like the same mistake that I just did like 10 times, or it's like the same word that I misspelled like 10 times, but I thought I know how to spell it right, but like my brain just like fixed it, and I'm like, how did I not notice this when I was reading through it? Humbling. We got it done. Now that I finished going through the proofread, I'm gonna take a little break. Figured we'd answer some more questions. The last ones were from Instagram, so let's scope out the YouTube ones. A lot of people asked about the jacket I was wearing in the other video. I'm so sorry, it's like very old. There's no way you could find it now. Okay, so here's a marketing question. Have you changed your marketing strategies or still just writing the TikTok and Insta train? So I've talked about this a lot on Patreon, I think, mostly in like our podcast, because that's when I answer questions like this. So my marketing strategies they're always like shifting and evolving. TikTok and Instagram have never been the main, I guess they have been. a very large part of the marketing, but they've never been the only thing that I'm doing. Keeping on with those, now that I have a full series, the read-through potential is greater. So doing things like a 99-cent sale or a free sale for the first book in a series to encourage that read-through like we just did is more viable or potentially more profitable. I've started dipping into cost per click ads again. I'm like kind of go in and out of using those. I would say those two and social media are the main things right now that I can think of. These ones are about my editing. When you started your editing career, how long was it before you started increasing your rates? And how long until you started charging rates you felt fairly compensated your work? Also, when you have a repeat client, do you give them a better rate? I'm still in the trenches earning very little for my work, but I'm determined to stick it out. Would love to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There definitely is. If you haven't yet seen this video, that'll answer most frequently asked questions about my editing business. As far as the timeline goes, I honestly can't quite remember. I started my editing back in 2019, so it's been 4 years now. I didn't really raise my rates until I got off of Fiverr, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember exactly when I started booking directly through my website. I feel like it was probably at least 6 months into me doing that. And I've raised my rates, I don't know, maybe 4 times at this point. Partially once I felt like I could because I had a steady enough client list and like I was always busy, so I wasn't worried that no one was going to be willing to pay those rates. Partly because I got more experience, so I felt like it was more worthy of increasing my rates, and then also because of the current state of things and how expensive everything is. You have to raise your prices to adjust the increasing cost of living. So I don't necessarily have a solid like timeline suggestion for you, and it also depends on what you're charging now and like how below what you want to be charging you are. Are you fully booked right now at your lower rates? Are you having repeat clients? Because my calendar these days fills up so quickly, and the majority of them are repeat clients, and that's what keeps my business going. I have new people come in all the time, but most of the time I don't have room for them. Because one of your questions was if I give my repeat clients a better rate. No, everyone pays the same, but I do give repeat clients priority, or I'm just more flexible with them. I'm more willing to try to accommodate them if I didn't like originally have space in my calendar, but like it's a book in a series I've already worked on, or it's someone who's worked with me a lot, like I'm gonna try harder to fit them in even if I wouldn't normally take in a client in that spot. I definitely feel more comfortable raising my rates now because I'm not dependent on the editing income. So if I have a client, that's great. If not, I don't need it. So I know that's not very helpful, but in general, don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. Don't be afraid to increase your rates. You might have people say like, I can't pay that now, or I'm not willing to pay that now. That just means you're gonna have a different clientele come in. People who are willing to pay those kinds of rates. The people who are willing to pay your smaller rates might not transition into those clients, but that doesn't mean you're not gonna bring new people in. You deserve to be paid for your work. You deserve to be paid fairly. Your time is valuable. And if you have the skill set for it and the clients you've had so far are leaving your services happy, don't be afraid to raise them. Worst comes to worst, you raise them for a little while, you get crickets, you can't get anyone in, and you put them back down. I mean, we have a newer subscriber questions. So first one, what outlining method do you use? I really don't. I'm not much of an outliner, and I don't have like a specific method that I use. My outlining is very just loose. And it's more of like I have some major story beats in mind. So I like to know usually the inciting incident, the midpoint, the climax, and the resolution at a bare minimum. I do like romancing the beat if you're writing romance books. A lot of people like Save the Cat. I don't personally use it, but I think that's a good place to start if you're not that familiar with story structure in general. I actually have a whole, I don't even know what they're called, little folder of my favorite writing and publishing craft books on my Amazon storefront. I can link that down below. I have lots of books I would recommend in there. And then how did you get started with editing? This is the video for you. In the last video we were talking about my perfumes. Once you finish a book, do you finish the perfumes? I get this question actually quite often. So I will use one of my perfumes for each writing project. I like to associate the scent. So what happens when I finish the project? Is the perfume just useless now? No. Do I use them a lot afterwards? Usually not, because if I'm working on a new book, I'm wearing a new perfume every day. So it's not that I won't ever use it again. It's just if I'm using a different one, there's no room for me to use that one still. So I still have all of the old ones, and some of them I really, really like the scents. So I still wear them. Like, I'm technically done with Ruthless Ends now, but that scent is ambery lavender, and I have found mixing that with another perfume of theirs, which is like I think it's like a violet, the two of them together. I get compliments every single time. Like people notice when I'm wearing that, and I like that combination a lot, so I'll probably wear that even after I'm done with this book. In general, yes, I will still continue to use the perfumes. There's only, I can only use so many at once. Someone asked if I would consider writing werewolf shifter kind of romances. I don't know. I really don't know. In the last video I was saying I like werewolves now more than I ever did in the past because of the Marionettes books. I don't know if I would write a book that's like so specific to werewolves if there's like not other creatures involved. I don't know if I like werewolves that much to purely focus on them, but never say never. I don't know. That's not a genre that I read. I don't really read shifter romances. I've never tried them, so I don't even know if I would like them. So it's hard for me to say if I would want to write a genre that I've never read before. Will you miss your Marionettes series once book 4 is released, or are you ready for newness? I really don't know. I guess a little bit of both. I'm kind of waiting until the Ruthless Ends release. Like I am waiting to feel some kind of way about it. Like I'm waiting to feel sad. Like I expected I would feel sad by now, and I haven't yet. So I don't know if that just like hasn't hit me yet, or if it's not going to. I feel very satisfied with the story. I know I went back and forth for a while, like not sure how many books were going to be in this series. I originally planned 4, and then I was like, maybe there will be 5, and then there ended up being 4. And the story is just like, it ends at book 4. That's where it needed to be. So nothing feels like unresolved. Spending 4 long books with the same characters, this is the first time I've ever done that. I have felt more sad at the end of writing Standalones because I know there's nothing more to explore with those characters. I have to say goodbye to those characters so much faster than I did with Valerie and Reed. I had 3 years that I worked on these books with Valerie and Reed. I think I'm always going to look back on this series very fondly. This being my first series, this being my first work in this genre, this being my first series or singular book that like really took off in my career. I've had others do that since, but the Marionettes was the first time that a book like really took off from the get-go. So I have a feeling I'm always gonna look back on this series, no matter how far I get into my career, as something that's very special to me. I guess maybe it doesn't feel totally like I'm saying goodbye because I have the potential for spin-offs, and I do feel like I will return to this world at some point, even if it's not immediately after finishing this series. But yeah, I expect it to feel sad, and I don't yet. Part of it might be I mostly just feel relieved because I was so stressed about this book. So like I don't have the capacity to feel any sadness right now. Like I've been dealing with too many other emotions. Maybe that'll come later, I don't know. We'll definitely be able to tell because this will be the first year that I'm not working on a Marionettes book. So after some time has passed and I'm not like immediately jumping into the next book, that's when I'll know. Because right now everything still feels like usual. Like I'm still getting ready for the release and stuff. So I haven't experienced a period of time yet where I'm not working on them. What tips do you have for building a reader following? If you're posting on social media, if you're talking about writing and like tips for how to write or how to publish or how I outline, you're going to be attracting other writers. You're going to be attracting other authors. You might have some readers who are also interested in that, but you're mostly going to be building an audience of other writers and other authors. If you're wanting to attract readers, you need to post about things that readers care about, which would be sometimes talking about your own work. But if you're new, if your book isn't even published yet, people don't care about that yet. So talking about what books you're reading, or maybe some tropes that you enjoy in books, just like being a part of the book community and talking about topics that people know about. Because if you don't have a large reader base, people don't know about your books yet. You can throw in talking about your books every once in a while, but if you are looking to grow other readers, you have to post content that other readers are going to be interested in. Also, follow accounts that are like what you want your account to become. One, to see what they're doing and see what's working for them, just to like have an idea of what people are interested in and what's working in the current market. But also make friends with other people who are creating content similar to yours. That's half the fun. That kind of goes into what's your favorite part of AuthorTube. My favorite part of being on any social media with a platform has been the connections I've made with other creators and the friends that I've made, the people I've gotten to meet. 100% the best part has been turning digital online connections into actual friendships. Do you have the same LLC for your books and your editing services? Yes. What is your #1 advice as a full-time self-published author for a writer following the same dream? Let me think. Let me try and come up with something good and not just something like generic or something you've heard before. To be honest, I'm just gonna say start. Whatever that looks like for you, take the first step today if you can. I think a lot of people put off doing what they need to do because they're not ready yet. Like they feel like they'll be better, more prepared whenever X, Y, and Z happens. And if you're waiting until you feel ready, it's never gonna happen. I'm not saying like throw together a book and publish it today before it's ready, but if you don't have any accounts made for your author name yet, maybe start one of them today. Maybe reach out to someone who's also started an account recently, who's at like a same kind of level as you are, and start networking and making friends. Start researching the cover designers you're going to use, or start researching the editors you might want to use. Sit down and plan what you think the next 3 years would look like for your publishing schedule and like a dream scenario. A lot of people label themselves as like aspiring authors or aspiring writers, but they don't have a solid plan on how to get there, or even like what they want that to look like. It sounds so simple, but so many people don't even know what they want. They don't even know what they want their career to look like. They just know they want to publish a book at some point. So put a date on it. Even if you don't reach it, at least it's going to give you a goal to work towards, and it's going to give you a little more structure. The first decision is, are you going with traditional publishing or self-publishing? Just spend some time with yourself and sit down and really think about what you want. Do you want to be published within the next 5 years? Make a plan on how it's going to happen. How much has your writing process changed in the last 3 years? 3 years ago would have been 2020. That's when the Anti-Virginity Pact came out. To be honest, I don't feel like it's changed that much at all. I mean, plenty of things have changed in 3 years, but the writing process itself, the way that I make my way through my books, I am tempted to say it's exactly the same. I've tried like other things, but I always find my way back to the way that works for me. Okay, there are still more questions, but I feel like we've been talking for a really long time, so we'll cut it off there. If you have something that you want answered in the next vlog, just comment them on this video. It's a Maxine Lump. We're gonna take a break, get a workout in, maybe edit a little bit of this video. I just need a break away from screens. Then I'll get back to my client. I'm almost done with it. I want to wrap it up tonight. But then I think I have some of my sprayed edge books that didn't turn out the way that I want them to, so I'm going to sand them down and paint over another layer to make some of my multicolored ones tonight. I have these 4 that I want to do. I don't know how well you can tell that like it just didn't break the best in some places, so that's when they qualify to be turned into the multicolored ones.
Slippery slope.